Of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, Goal 12, Responsible Production and Consumption, specifically pertaining to energy, should be forefront in America's goals. The goal in itself is about promoting energy efficiency and a better quality of life for everyone. The implementation helps to reduce future economic, environmental, and social costs. This goal also aims to reduce resource use, degradation, and pollution, which address some of the other goals in the Sustainable Development Goals. Goal number 12 targets include the implementation of a 10-year framework of programs on sustainable consumption and production, all countries taking action, with developed countries taking the lead, taking into account the development and capabilities of developing countries. By 2030, we need to achieve the sustainable management and efficient use of natural resources. In this presentation, we will not only evaluate the monetary costs associated with non-renewable energy production, but we will also visualize those costs associated with the extraction and use of these resources. In 2012, the total world's energy consumption was 529 quadrillion BTUs. There are 195 countries in this world, and the U.S. alone was responsible for 18% of this total usage. Non-renewable energies include coal, petroleum or crude oil, natural gas, and uranium. Coal is used to generate electricity. 93% of its extraction is used for this purpose. And natural gas, 31% is used to generate electricity. The reason is because these are the cheapest to extract and these are the cheapest to use. But these are certainly not the cheapest when it comes to our environment or health. The extraction practices of coal include surface mining if it's below ground less than 200 feet, and it can be used directly once it's extracted. Petroleum requires the drilling of a well into an underground reservoir. Several layers of recovery are necessary to obtain the maximum amount of oil from underground. Natural gas uses a process called hydraulic fracturing, which is high pressure, water, sand, chemicals to break rock underneath the ground. And uranium or chemical solutions are injected into the underground deposits to leach the uranium from the ore. It's one of the cleanest forms of energy, but it doesn't go without disadvantages. Disadvantages in these reactors include releases of radioactive materials that include long-term hazards. We've seen that in 3 Mile Island and Fukushima accidents already. Some concerns associated with coal, petroleum, and natural gas extraction and uses include employee health concerns with those people that are mining as part of their job, air and water contaminations, and ecosystem disruption. Some environmental health consequences, generally speaking, that are associated with the uses of these non-renewable resources include air pollutants from the emissions, carbon dioxide more specifically. These contribute to greenhouse gases. There's methane release, sulfur dioxides, heavy metals, particulates into the air, nitrogen oxides. These are all during the extraction process in addition to the emission process. We concern ourselves with spills that create water pollutant issues. These petroleum spills have been seen. They create detriments for animals, ocean animals, as well as land animals. The ability of fur-bearing mammals to insulate themselves are compromised. Birds' feathers for water repellency are compromised. These create hypothermic conditions for these animals, up to and including death as a result. We have to worry about fish ingesting some of the toxins in the water. It affects the survival rates of fish and the larvae. We also have to be concerned about some of the chemicals used in the fracking episodes and some of those practices that pollute our water and our air as well. With fracking comes waste fluids that are left open to evaporate into the air. Those are volatile organic compounds which bring about another set of concerns. These contribute to contaminating air. They create acid rain, ground level ozone. These will bring about some specific health problems. One of the most specific environmental health consequences associated with emissions of these non-renewable resources include respiratory symptoms and decreased lung function, asthma and COPD exacerbations, which increase hospital emergency room visits and hospital stays, upper and lower respiratory tract infections, lung cancer, chronic respiratory health effects. More specifically, sodium dioxide from your coal emissions creates small acidic particles that can be breathed in the very low portions of the lungs. Nitrous oxides are responsible for smog, and this exacerbates asthma, increases chronic respiratory diseases. Particulate matter that is released is responsible for the exacerbation of asthma as well, chronic bronchitis, respiratory conditions up to and including death. Mercury as an emission is responsible for bioaccumulation in animals and people, and are responsible for our inability to eat fish or have to really be careful about how much fish we eat. Other heavy metals and carcinogens are released as well. The number of adults with asthma in the United States as of 2014 was 17.7 million, and the number of children were 6.3 million. It costs our country $56 billion annually because of asthma and other chronic and respiratory illnesses. Another environmental health consequence is water contamination, primarily from your acid rain formation from the emissions of burning coal and the fracking practices, the chemicals that are used. The chemicals used, over 600 are known carcinogens and toxins, and they pollute water. Methane gas and toxic chemicals leach out into the groundwater. Methane concentrations have been found to be 17 times higher in drinking water wells near fracking sites. And there's been over 1,000 documented cases of water contamination next to areas of gas drilling that result in sensory, respiratory, and neurological damage. Unfortunately, special populations that are affected directly by the emissions and our practices for these non-renewable resources include everybody that breathes air and everybody that drinks from or lives in our water supplies, because we use so many non-renewable resources in all forms that we're affecting every aspect of those populations' livelihoods, water and air. The solutions to the problems that we have using the non-renewable resources that we currently use today would be to convert those sources to the renewable energies that include wind, solar, geothermal, hydroelectric, and biomass energies. Wind turbines can be used to generate electricity. Solar energy makes hydro and wind energy possible, but we can capture energy from the sun. Geothermal energy use the Earth's steam and hot water to power generators that we can use for electricity. Hydroelectric energy uses the kinetic and potential energies of water to drive mechanical processes that we can use to generate electricity. Biomass can be used for transportation energy with methane gas waste and agricultural wastes. The collective benefits associated with renewable energies include little to no global warming emissions, improved health of people, animals, and our environment, more stable energy prices, and safer jobs alongside other economic benefits. In summary, non-sustainable energies cost our environment when being extracted and when being used. People and animals suffer chronic respiratory issues and deaths as a result of non-renewable energies. Renewable energy sources must become forefront in order to reduce these environmental impacts. One of the targets stated to reach Sustainable Development Goal 12 regarding energy is for developed nations to take the lead and to take action. America is a developed nation. When we're responsible for 18% of global energy expenditures, we are clearly not taking the lead. We have implemented a minimal amount of all forms of renewable energies, which means we are capable of making these forms of energies forefront. We are in the position to take the lead globally and advancing our resources to embrace these sustainable renewable methods of energy generation and use. Funding is the element that keeps us from moving forward. There is no way that we can address this goal without simultaneously working to achieve the other goals associated with these developmental goals. Goals 3, 6, 7, 14, and 15 will be addressed if this goal is addressed.